Hello everyone, welcome to Storytime Niger. If you're new here and you've not been following us, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss our wonderful stories. Now, let's wrap up the story of the class king. The following morning, Dozie arrived at Bright Future High School earlier than usual. He hasn't slept much. All night, one question kept running through his mind. Who planted the envelope in Daniel's locker? Because if Daniel had really stolen the examination papers, why would he leave the evidence where everyone could find it? Something was wrong, and Dozie was determined to find out what. As soon as he entered the school compound, he headed towards the administration block. The corridor was unusually quiet. Dozie looked around carefully. Then he noticed something. A small piece of blue fabric was caught on the edge of the broken office door. He pulled it loose. It looked like part of the school sweater. Dozie frowned. Then he heard a footstep. He quickly stepped behind the pillar. Someone walked out of the storage room. It was Marcus, one of the school senior prefects. Dozie watched as Marcus looked around nervously before walking away. Dozie's heart started beating faster. Why had Marcus been inside the administration block? He waited until Marcus disappeared, then entered the storage room. On the shelf, hidden behind some old files, Dozie discovered a small black bag. Inside were several examination papers. His eyes winked. But before he could touch anything, someone grabbed his shoulder. Dozie turned around. It was Daniel. "What are you doing here?" Dozie quickly explained everything. Daniel looked inside the bag. His face became serious. "We have to tell the principal." But before they could leave, they heard a voice approaching. Marcus and another student entered the corridor. Dozie and Daniel quickly hid behind the door. Marcus spoke in a low voice. "I told you nobody will find them here." The other student replied nervously, "But Daniel is already being blamed." Marcus laughed. "Exactly. By the time they discover the truth, we'll already have sold the papers." Dozie covered his mouth in shock. Marcus had stolen the examination papers, and Daniel had been framed. But before Dozie and Daniel could get to the principal's office, Marcus noticed them. "You!" The two boys ran. Marcus chased after them through the corridor. "Stop!" Dozie and Daniel sprinted towards the school gate. Students turned in confusion as they watched the chase. "What happened?" someone shouted. Daniel suddenly grabbed Dozie's arm. "Keep running." They reached the road outside the school. Then Dozie heard a last vehicle horn. He turned. A car was speeding towards them. Everything happened in seconds. Daniel pushed Dozie out of the way. Crash! The world seemed to stop. Dozie fell to the ground. For a moment, he couldn't understand what happened. Then he looked up. Daniel was lying several feet away. "Daniel!" Dozie rushed towards him. Students and teachers came running. The driver immediately stopped the car and called for help. Dozie knelt behind Daniel, tears filling his eyes. "Daniel, please wake up!" Daniel slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Dozie and gave him a faint smile. "You're okay." Dozie shook his head. "Don't talk. Please, help is coming." Daniel struggled to speak. "I knew you were a good friend." Dozie held his hand tightly. "I'm sorry." Daniel looked confused. "For what?" "For believing everyone else before I believed you." Daniel gave him a weak smile. "You believed me when it mattered." The ambulance arrived. Teachers rushed Daniel to the hospital. Dozie stayed behind, shaking and crying. A few minutes later, the principal arrived with the police. Marcus was arrested after the examination papers were recovered. The truth was finally revealed. Daniel has been innocent all along, but the victory felt empty. Because several hours later, Dozie sat outside the hospital room with Daniel's parents. A doctor slowly walked towards them. His expression said everything. Daniel had not survived his injuries. Dozie covered his face and broke down. The boy he has once seen as his rival, the boy he had secretly been jealous of, had become his closest friend. And now he was gone. Days later, Bright Future High School held a memorial assembly for him. The entire school stood in silence. Dozie walked to the front. For once, there were no jokes, no laughter, only tears. He looked at Daniel's empty seat. Then he spoke. I thought Daniel came to take my place. He paused. But I was wrong. He didn't come to take my place. He came into my life to teach me what friendship really means. The student listened quietly. Dozie wiped his tears. Sometimes, we become so afraid of losing our position that we fail to recognize the people who are meant to stand beside us. He looked towards the sky. Daniel, you will never be forgotten. And from that day forward, Dozie was never the same. He remained the class king, but he finally understood that being a king wasn't about being the most popular person in the room. It was about the courage to stand for what was right, even when everyone else stood against you. And that was the story of Dozie and Daniel. A story that began with rivalry, turned into friendship, and ended with a lesson none of them would ever forget. Sometimes we don't realize the value of someone until we no longer have the chance to tell them how much they meant to us. And that was the day the class king stopped laughing. Thanks for watching Storytime Naija. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and comment. Until then, bye.